welcome to Bible/chat. It's good to have you with us. We're chatting about the Bible.
We are.
I just coughed, so I'm a little,
Compose
choky.
yourself
Yeah,
now.
I'm so sorry. Anyway, last time we talked about how do you find your spiritual gifts? Very interesting. And in the middle of that, when you said like, hey, there's one thing we could possibly consider.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So definitely, we were talking about the gift of teaching, right? Obviously, all throughout the New Testament, it is a gift. You know, we have teachers and pastors, pastor teachers. So how do you discern that in someone? Yeah. And how does someone know they have it? Yeah. How would we answer that?
No, it's so good. Great question.
Yeah.
I think we live in an age, we sort of live in a cultural age in the church. We might be coming out of it right now a little bit, but it's sort of a celebrity culture. Yeah. And so people have these huge ministries, massive YouTube followings, all these things. They're writing books and all these things. So there's celebrity pastors. Yeah. And I think there's a pull in the heart of I think young guys, they love Christ. You see that and you're like, oh man, that's what I want to be. I want to do that. I want to teach and do those things. So there's a danger to do that. A danger to the heart in terms of those things. Paul talks about shepherd teachers, right? Right. Pastor teachers. Right. And then, and actually in James chapter 3, we were just talking about this beforehand, but James says, let not many of you become teachers, my brethren, knowing that as such we will incur a stricter judgment. So he's like, listen, sit down. The initial thing is like, hey, you need to be aware that this is a serious thing. You're talking about the Bible. Yeah. Like you're not playing games, right? You're dealing with people's souls. You carry the weight of those souls as you go to teach them. So that's a weighty thing. They need to consider that. Yeah. And then if you have a young guy, so you have someone who seems to love theology, who loves the Word, loves people, loves to talk to people, and he seems to have some of those like inklings in his heart. How do you know if that guy's a teacher? Well, there's lots of ways. One is you can just have them start teaching. Right? Yeah. Because teachers teach.
You have to try it out.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter where you put them, actually. You can stick them in the 2s and 3s class. That's actually what John Code did with us. He said, you need to be in the 2s and 3s class.
Oh, that's helpful.
We love the 2s and 3s class. It was so fun. We got to teach them, and they're 2s and 3s. So if you get them to say, like, obey mom and dad, if you get them to say that out loud, you're great. Yeah. It's just very easy. And then I ended up moving up to the 4s and 5s. Then I taught junior high. So, like, moving older, but like you're just teaching, and that's always what you're trying to do is get the kids to understand the Word, and so then after that, can the youth pastor taught there. So I think just plugging into wherever there's a need for the Bible to be taught, wherever that is, it doesn't matter where it is. It can be very short and very, very simple. Children, the elderly, we have the care center ministry, though it's on hold right now through COVID, but just places where the Word can be expressed and people can hear it and just the opportunity to do that. Right. So as you do that, then people around you will say, oh, wow, that guy's really actually gifted at that. He's actually communicating well. Yeah. And then that's where it becomes our job to be on the lookout for those guys and say, that guy actually, he communicates the Word well and he loves people. He's a genuine shepherd. Yeah. Maybe there's something more to that guy. We need to sort of give him the next kind of bump up in terms of teaching responsibilities. Which might be co-leading a care group or joining men of faith where they're allowed to be trained a little bit more in terms of theology and teaching. So just that next sort of step up where, give them an opportunity. Yeah. And then that all kind of flows out forward, right? Yeah. But that's not the guy grabbing that stuff. Right. That's him doing whatever the church asks him to do and then being willing to wait and let the elders identify that. Yeah.
So in terms of waiting, right? Like why is that so important? Yeah. Like the Bible talks about aspiring. Yeah. 1 Timothy 3, if anyone desires to be an overseer, an elder, right? Yeah. So how would you address that question to a young guy, let's say?
So that's actually an interesting verse. We need to cover
We'll get to that,
Because he's actually not aspiring to teach. He's aspiring to shepherd and care for the people.
Exactly.
So you want to see a guy who's like got his hands dirty, he's bleeding for people and caring for them. And if he's not doing that, he doesn't need to be teaching.
Exactly.
But the waiting is important. It says in the Proverbs, let another's mouth praise you and not your own lips. And Christ told the parable of when you go into a feast, you sit at the end. It's better to be called forward than to be told to sit back. And I think the reality is a heart that knows that the goal of the church is the glory of Christ is not going to want to grab for stuff. They're going to say, hey, I'm going to do only what the Lord gives me. And if he gives me something, I want to do it well. And even my desire might be to do that, but I'm not going to grab it because I know that God is the one who gives ministry, and I know God is the one who moves people, and so I'm going to wait for him to come to me and give me the thing, as opposed to saying like, it's time for me. Put me in, coach. That's a real dangerous hard attitude.
Yeah, so. And that's where James 3:1, I think, where we started, is such an appropriate and weighty thing. Just to sober all of us,
Amen.
Who are teaching or those who aspire to or want to teach and may think they have the gift of teaching. So,
we stand before God, right? Absolutely. I mean, you got to give an answer. Poof, that makes me nervous every week. Very cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thanks so much.
Man.
Yeah, thanks.